subject to scrutiny. I thought I'd make a partial flat Earth video. I mean, there's so much information to cover, so I just like to do the broad strokes usually. But I saw these cute little globes, and it just kind of made me think, like, hey, it's a good idea. It's something we could use these globes for, because they shouldn't be in classrooms. But that's just my opinion. And you shouldn't have an opinion unless you do some research. But I wanted to kind of focus on Antarctica. It says, facts of history bring us curious insight. 69,000 miles to sail around Antarctica. And there's an article below. This is all linked. I've seen this before in various places, but these are all original sources, and you can actually look up Captain Cook's personal diary, where he says this. Right here. The ice extended east 57, I'm assuming miles, and west far beyond the reach of our sight, while the southern half of the horizon was illuminated by rays of light which were reflected from the ice to a considerable height. It was indeed my opinion that this ice extends quite to the pole, which just pretty much means far to the pole, or perhaps joins some land to which it has been fixed since creation. And then there's another guy right here who said something else. In 1839, this is about 50 years or so, about 100 years later or something, James Clark Ross began a series of Antarctic voyages lasting a total of 4 years and 5 months. Let's see what he says. He says, extending from its eastern extreme point as far as the eye could discern to the eastward, it presented an extraordinary appearance, gradually increasing in height as we got nearer to it, and proving at length to be a perpendicular cliff of ice between 150 feet and 200 feet above the level of the sea, perfectly flat and level at the top, and without any fissures or promontories, which I'm assuming are like cracks or, damage, on its even seaward face. We might, with equal chance of success, try to sail through the cliffs of Dover as to penetrate such a mass. And if you know what the White Cliffs of Dover are, they're just these crazy, like, limestone cliffs. And then the article goes on, yes, but we can circumnavigate the south easily enough, is often said by those who don't know. The British ship Challenger recently completed the circuit of the southern region, indirectly to be sure, but she was 3 years about it and traversed nearly 69,000 miles, a stretch long enough to have taken her 6 times round on the globular hypothesis. And that's a quote from William Carpenter, 100 Proofs the Earth is Not a Globe, and that's a book, page 78. And you can look up that book. And then here's some other good books if you guys want to kind of really do some real good stuff. The newer book, the best book, is The Flat Earth Conspiracy by Eric Dubé. That's by far, The Flat Earth Conspiracy by Eric Dubé, that's by far my favorite book. Not my favorite book, per se, but the Flat Earth book, for sure. Samuel Rowbotham's good, but it's more old-timey, but it's a lot of the same proofs are in there as Eric Dubé's. Thomas Winship's Zetetic, I've only read about half that, but I just kind of skimmed that one. And then... these are some other ones. Lady Blount's Clarion, Science versus God's Truth. And, this is all what it boils down to, is just the law of inversion with Satanists. They want you to believe the opposite. And this is a conspiracy that's lasted, 1,500 years, 1,200 years, however long it's been. Pythagoras was the first one. And if you follow Pythagorean numerology at all, you know that there's a certain number that always pops up, especially among the elites. But let's really look at, and I typed in Antarctica Ice Wall, just so we can get some pictures. These are the pictures they allow us to see. And, look at this. Look how far this goes. This is easily a few hundred miles, but or 100 miles at least. But, look at that. That doesn't look like an ice wall? Game of Thrones? Come on. Everybody watches Game of Thrones. Come on. There's another one. That one you could kind of go around, you don't know there. But look at this corner right here. Look how far that one loops. That one kind of is lame. We found a nice long shot. They don't give them to us. But look at this. This is proof right here. If there is an inlet or there is a channel, there should be something somewhere. But there's not. They had to literally hell a flight up all this equipment to be able to haul this crap up there to the top. And look how far it goes forever. It just goes there's nothing. It's flat. There's some stuff out there, but who knows how far it goes out, but they're trying to say it's a continent. I don't know. I believe the people who are saying the stuff. back in the day before there was censorship and they could just freely publish whatever they want. And everybody had a journal. That was cool. Now people put their stuff on Facebook and hope for the best. Okay, well that's Antarctica, and that's some old stuff. Then I was like, well, okay, well I like the older stuff, so let's pick up some ancient maps of Earth, and you'll see like this one. Now this looks just like the UN flag, but look how old it is. And then you look at this one. Now this one's interesting because if you don't know about Mount Sumeru, and you can look at this like that's a sail. This is supposed to be like Russia, I'm assuming. Yeah, because this is Canada. But anyway, this is it right here. This is what causes the tides. Look at the four rivers, the four corners of the earth. It's a circle within a square. I mean, whatever you want to get into, but allegedly this giant magnetic mountain, which that's why all compasses point north, because it's pointing to the center of a plate, basically. But this giant magnetic mountain, there's ancient stories. I don't want to get into all those, but there's ancient stories of people sailing here and all the nails of their ships flying out of their boats. And that's what really pushed like carpentry and that kind of stuff, like using wooden dowels and that kind of thing. And this was one of the reasons for it. With the compass thing and all that, I mean, it makes a hell of a lot more sense than what they're pushing in mainstream news. And I prefer to believe ancient people more than the modern day ideas. Here's a Hindu picture of the earth. You can clearly see a dome above it with the heavens above it and a flat plain with water. And they have all this other shit going, or I'm sorry, this other stuff going on in here. There's a better one. There we go. That's the one I want. This is where they changed it. Yeah, so that's Canada. This is in English, thank God. But Mount Sumeru or Eden, the Garden of Eden, this is allegedly where the Garden of Eden is. And the North Star, the North Pole Star, is directly above the North Pole, Polaris. And in all ancient stuff, they're saying that's the God star, that's the heavens, that's why it never moves. And you can look into that all you want, but it's definitely pretty interesting. Here's an older one, the four corners of the earth. Very interesting. And if you follow karma and that kind of spiritual thing, there's all kinds of stuff that ties into that. But I don't really try not to get into the spiritual stuff too much. But everybody has their own opinion, but it's better to stick to scientific fact. But I just like these. If how could everybody in the world be wrong up until a certain point? Until the first Freemason said, "Oh no." But here we go. And it says in Hindu cosmology, the universe is cyclically created and destroyed. Its cosmology divides time into four epochs or yuga, of which the current yuga is the Kali Yuga, and Kali is the destroyer. So they're saying, I mean, you can see all this apocalypse stuff with Christians right now, and I mean every religion basically is pushing this. And this is how many worlds there are according to Hinduism. Or wait, no. This is what is the age of Brahma? Brahma's the creator, basically. He's their god, and he's 155.5217972944 trillion years old. And so he creates. Vedic cosmology. Where's that one I wanted? Okay, here we go. Satyaloka. I don't know how to say that. I'm so sorry. In Hinduism, the Brahmapura is the abode of Brahma, one of three Trimurti. It is located on Mount Meru. So that's that mountain I showed you in the center of the earth where God lives. It is also referred to as Brahmaloka or Satyaloka, or something like that. In all of the Puranas. Brahmapura is the topmost loka within this material universe. Okay, now what is it? Where is it located? No. was saying. Oh no, it was with the Mount Meru. I messed that up. I'm sorry, guys. Let me get it back. Boom. Okay. Mount Meru is a sacred cosmological mountain with 5 peaks in Hindu, Jain, and Buddhist cosmology, and is to be considered the center of all physical, metaphysical, and spiritual universe. And then boom, this is the one right here. It is mythology, so the exact location is unknown, but some researchers identify Mount Meru or Sumeru with the Pamir mountain range northwest of Kashmir. But, see, that's where they give you the 2 meanings. There's 2 meanings for everything. And now there's a period, because most people don't have a good attention span. They won't even read the last part. The Surya Sudadant, whatever is probably their Bible, mentions that Mount Meru lies in, quote, the middle of the earth, in the land of the Jambunad. I'm so terrible with Indian names. I'm sorry again. But right there, that's what you want right there. The middle of the earth. And I mean, it's right there in the middle. It's probably a little fuzzy. But yeah, so it's in the middle of the earth is where God lives. Okay. The Mount Himalayas. Oh, that's Himalayas. No, that's Mount Meru. And then you can go to images and kind of look at that again real fast. But, you know, I believe the ancient people, these people, they built stuff like this. And they built, you know, all these ancient pyramids everywhere. And a lot of these are just so, like, we can't rebuild the pyramids again. There's no way. Even if we had all the money and all the forced Jewish slaves, which still, if you keep looking at repeating victims of history, it seems we have a precedence for one particular people always seeming to be the victims, but nowadays they seem to be the aggressors. But that's none of my business, and I digress. But, I mean, there's all these pyramids everywhere. And they just don't, I mean, they don't make sense. I mean, unless they were places to worship. And then they've been perverted into, you know, aliens built them, and aliens are demons. So, and then I had a last point here. No, that's the same thing. I guess I already had it on a tab. But yeah, there's a lot of other interesting information. I didn't cover a ton of it here. This is a pretty short video. But I'd love to hear some comments and see if some people are, you know, thinking about it or looking at it. I mean, there's a lot of really interesting information, and it all kind of ties together. If you look at like Thor and some of that old mythology, they had a rainbow bridge. Ancient Buddhists talk of a rainbow bridge. I mean, there's all kinds of very, very interesting things. And rainbows is a whole nother thing too, but subject to scrutiny. Like, share, subscribe.